Good evening. Good evening. I see I have a connection on Facebook Live. And of course, we're coming to you via Zoom too to make sure that these recordings come to you in full quality and in total completeness. So I'll go ahead and share the screen. I called tonight's show Phenomena in February. And so I really had a lot of action in a short little month. And it was all good too. There was many signs and wonders for you that follow astrology or the eclipses or, what's going on behind the scenes in any given way that you enjoy. But I'll tell you, the thing about being a Pisces is going with the flow. And I'm going to have to say I'm pretty good at that. I have a lot of experience. So I'm glad to be here with you tonight on Facebook Live. Now, before I play you the first intro song, let's just look at our buddy Elvis here. Of course, this is when he was young. And here he is now, current time. So for those of you that listen to me and hear news I put out, this was part of the February phenomena, and you want to talk about mind-blowing. Deep down, I always knew the king was still alive, but that's a whole other story, isn't it? So we're going to open up with a little welcome to my world. And, I have a show called Sophia's Emporium. And so all of these things that I'm going to talk about to finish up February do all connect into that. Just a quick disclaimer before I play this. Sometimes when I play my iMovie little videos like this one, Facebook could come on and stop the recording and say, this isn't your music. But it actually is. It's that free upload music that goes with the iMovie app, which is on my computer. So this is actually free use and all that. And it's a little, what would you call it? A movie preview kind of a thing. So welcome and enjoy. All right. So isn't it cool that right here, after the little opening video, up pops Courtney Brown's remote viewing March 2017 Farsight predictions. And you can see this has already seen 400 views. People know that the remote viewing phenomena really is a science. It's a state of spiritual awareness and psychic perception. And just like anything, some people use it for very, very bad things, and other people use them for noble causes. And Courtney is a righteous guy. So I'm glad to see that right there he is. And I do want Courtney to know that seriously, I'll be watching it first opportunity I have. Now, I mentioned that in the month of February, and my birthday, for anybody that's curious about this whole phenomena, was just on Saturday, February 25th. Today is the 28th. And it was before Valentine's Day that I came across the truth of what's been going on behind the scenes all these years with the dear Elvis Presley. So I spent a lot of time, did a lot of research, and of course, I knew plenty on my own. And I've documented that story. So if you're curious to trip down the path with me, I had a live Facebook one that you could find on my Suze B. Pratt page or on YouTube. And I also have a 2-hour and 49-minute recording with Mr. Vic, who co-hosts Sophia's Emporium with me sometimes. And we covered the aspect of what's going to trip people out, but it's so important to talk about tonight, is the idea that someone that, whether you loved them or hated them or had some particular issue with what you had heard as gossip about a person, to find out that Elvis Presley has been a preacher man in the recent past, and of course that he had been an FBI agent, DEA, witness protection, and is going to hopefully make his appearance here coming up in March. So I have taken on, it's an incredible adventure, describing the King's life. And what's pretty wild about this whole thing too is how, okay, so you can see someone all grown up here, full blown. Elvis is 82 years old now. And so you see him preaching in a very traditional way that you would imagine in church. Sure, we're trying to reconnect on Facebook. Oh. So anyhow, Zoom is so reliable, fortunately. And I have this little book in which Elvis found the light. And this was his favorite book next to the Bible. Now, we get into more of the metaphysical side of Elvis Presley's truth. And for those of you that don't know, he was definitely brought up in the old school kind of beautiful revival church that some of us have seen. And of course, in his early days, he did actually sing his gospel music. I'm talking a little slower because we're getting our live stream on Facebook back up. So I'm multitasking, right? But anyhow, we got that set back up. So then when you connect with the book where Elvis talks about his spiritual side, his walk where he took a look at all the great minds and religions, because like we all know, there is one omnipresent, creative, divine God that we all know by different names. And Elvis didn't want to miss out, on technicalities, is what he said. So I have a book here. I'll put it up in front of the screen. The little book in which Elvis found the light. And so recently, I also did, I'd say maybe a fourth of this book is an audio read on YouTube as well. So here we are, and we find out this completely wild um, reality, that is mind blowing to people. And, 2016 was tough. And I take as a prime example, and I hope I don't shatter anyone's reality when I say this, but we found out that the great Sir Paul McCartney had actually passed in 1968. He was decapitated. And there was another person groomed to assume that role. And he wrote the book Billy Shears. I think his last name was Marshall. A lot of people found out about this last year. So you find out somebody that's alive that you believe is the person isn't really the person. And now here we flip around, and I can't imagine that anyone wouldn't use this opportunity as a healing experience and to really see how things affected your lives that were part of a false program. It's absolutely freeing to the mind, body, and the spirit. So, anyhow, believe it or not, Elvis, right here, is going to play the piano for Sophia. And Sophia is that female side of God. And some of the stories say at one time she miscreated. So let's go over that and review. In Gnostic tradition, Sophia is a feminine figure similar to the human soul, but also one of the feminine aspects of God. Gnostics held that she was the bride of Christ and the Holy Spirit of the Trinity. In the Nag Hammadi text, Sophia is the lowest aeon, age, or mankind's expression of the light of God. She is considered to have fallen from grace in some way, in so doing creating the material world. Hard to see that. The transition from spirit to matter brought about by a flawed passion or a sin. I'll do the best I can to read. According to some Gnostic text, the crisis occurs as a result of Sophia trying to emanate without her husband, Christ. After cataclysmically falling from the divine world, Sophia's fear and anguish of losing her life causes confusion and longing to return to the light. Because of these longings, matter and soul accidentally come into existence. The creation of the Demerge, Yaldabaoth, son of chaos, is also a mistake made during this exile. The demerge forms the physical world in which we live, ignorant of Sophia, who manages to infuse some spiritual spark into his creation. In the Pistis Sophia, Christ is sent from the Godhead in order to bring Sophia back into the fullness, the pleroma. Christ enables her to again see the light, bringing her knowledge of the Spirit. Christ is then sent to earth in the form of the man Jesus to give men the revelation needed to rescue themselves and return to the spiritual world. For Gnostics, the redemption of the Sophia through Christ is the central drama of the universe. The Sophia resides in all of us as the divine spark. And that's why Elvis refers to himself as her in some of his postings on SKMI. Figured it out. That's what a spiritual researcher does. Beautiful. All right. So many people forgot that Elvis played the guitar as well. All right, let's get back over to Facebook. There we go. So, we looked at a few things on this page. I want to show you something here. I just always have to bring it up. When I first opened the Hair Emporium in 1985, one day I went out to go pick up salon equipment, and the guy I was supposed to meet wasn't there, but there was an antique store. And I picked these rhino horns up that are hand carved, and you can see there's a dragon depicted on there. And you know, I was born in the year of the dragon, 1964. And then, of course, in the Chinese astrology, it happens to be the year, I believe, of the fire rooster. I know it's the rooster for sure. And so I put this little deal on my camera and clicked that picture. Thought that was pretty cool. And also, this saying before we move on, right? A woman in harmony with her spirit is like a river flowing. She goes where she will without pretense and arrives at her destination prepared to be herself and only herself. I definitely agree with that, right? Now, on my birthday, February 25th, and let me throw in right now, real quick. Part of the phenomena that I'm going to bring up after we read this is what I found out on this very day as far as a soul brother of mine, and I didn't have a clue. So, just shows you that we're always learning and growing. This says we won't be able to see it, but it will start around 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. So, of course, this is Tuesday now, keep in mind. Tibetan Buddhist beliefs that during these special astronomical events, all is magnified. So it is said that during a solar eclipse, the effects of positive and negative actions are multiplied 10,000 times. So as any positive actions, thoughts, and intentions during these events, and even now, leading up to it, is most beneficial. The following day, Monday, is Tibetan New Year, the female Firebird. How cool is that? Okay. Let's see what Bernard Gunther has to say. Oh my goodness. This stuff is always so deep and just so incredibly long. I would invite anyone to really read this guy's what he brings together. I mean, because the first piece is by Andrew Harvey, and then we have another one here by Marshall Summers, and also Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Tough words, right? So yeah, what a great birthday I had. And it really has nothing to do with the party or the gifts. We wound up working on Mr. Wrinkle's brother's skin and body on my birthday. You know, Mr. Wrinkles is our dog, and his brother Sparky lives across the street. And he has severe dropsy, and he has things going on. But I'll tell you what, tissue salts and biomat and hot towels to drain an infection. It's amazing how much healing work was done. And then what else? We did something. We had a lot of great talks, but there was no big birthday action, and that's never what it's about. Now, what is interesting before we leave this page of mine, and I have several, so I'm going to give you a little tour of Sue's world here. But anyhow, we have a great resource here in the divided state of Missouri, and his name is Dutch Sense on YouTube and on Facebook. But what Dutch does is more than meets the eye, more than warning you about earthquakes or about fracking or disasters or whatnot. I mean, this man is incredible. So on the 24th, we have this large 7.0 magnitude 6.9 earthquake that strikes the West Pacific, you know. And today I was checking out videos from the flood, and here's people in the middle of a mudslide, and there's nowhere for them to go. And they call it the great cleansing that's begun. So I thought that was very synchronistic, and it's really important now. I mean, I'm blessed to live with Joe, and he knows the weather 10 times over what you hear on any news. He's kind of like Dutch Sense without the equipment, right? It's really good to know what's coming and to have some kind of a preparedness. We also had the eclipse on Sunday, February 26th. Let's go ahead and play that real quick, just so you realize what you're living in, because it's hard. It's coming all at once, hard and fast. Rare cosmic events that open a portal of rapid upheaval and transformation. They're the universe's wild card, and when dealt, anything can happen. The lunar eclipse took place on February 10th, magnifying the intensity of the Leo full moon. And on February 26th, we'll witness a powerful solar eclipse when the Pisces new moon passes directly between. As the moon casts its shadow over our planet, it will momentarily block out the sun's light and temporarily snatch away the comfort and familiarity of an illuminated path. If you're not prepared, it may feel like you're fumbling around in the dark for a while. But with these 5 reminders, you can use this short power outage to find new direction ideas. I can't read that fast. They come into some unexpected manner in your life. These are astrological twins, these eclipses, and that is it. All right, one page done. So I'm going to take you over to a few of my other pages. People wonder why I don't have time to do other things. I can't even keep up with these flipping pages, but that's all right. So I have something here I want to share with you called Ages of the Great Year. Well, I surely thought it was here. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. We need Soulbox, not Sophia's Emporium. My bad. That's my grandmother in a 32 Pontiac, where I grew up on Highway 367, home I grew up in. Okay. Now let's get on the right thing, Suze. Are you kidding me? Oh, I want a particular thing and I'm not pulling it up, so that means I'm not supposed to right now. Okay, like I've been telling you guys, Elvis is alive. This is definitely tripping a few people out. And since we're over here, we're going to jump back into Elvis Presley, and I want to take you to 35 minutes into a video to give you Witness. This is a great video that you can find on SKMI, the official channel of Elvis Aaron Presley.
Who needs a place to turn around? Do you believe in love? Told me time and time again, my heart and soul is in your hand. Do you believe me now? Do you believe? Look at this living, dying fruit. I ain't nothing without you. Do you believe me now? I know I hurt you.
That's his daughter, Lisa Marie.
It's hard living with the door.
There's Elvis in the background, back left. Now see, you're seeing two different Elvises there because his twin was alive the whole time. That's where it gets tough.
Their father or their mother departed around them. I don't know. We're getting into a hairy, controversial field here. And yeah, you can feel it. I feel it. No, I mean, if I had I don't want to answer.
Is Elvis Presley alive?
Absolutely, I would testify in a court of law.
The man who calls himself Jesse after Elvis's deceased twin brother was Dr. Hinton's patient. 2002, Jesse claimed he was Elvis and that he would prove it to the world right here at Graceland.
Well, we wanted to talk to Elvis Presley Enterprises. That's the corporation that runs Graceland.
Sure, there's a corporation that runs
Someone
Graceland,
else did call.
and they have his human rights,
He contacted me asking for our help.
and he's truly a dead entity
I had to do what I did.
to them, as we all are.
I was an ordinary church-going country boy who just happened to love to sing rock and roll music. I didn't mean to put anybody through anything. I never expected to be anybody important. I hope my story will inspire folks. Now, I'm in the Federal Witness Protection Program for reasons which I'm sure we'll get into. Now, I've been trying to get out of witness protection for some time. I led a secret life as a federal drug enforcement agent. And I put my life on the line for America every day. I mean, who in the world would ever suspect Elvis Presley was a federal agent? No one. Never. And the most
Right,
effective
because
agent
you
no
were
one
taking
beats
all
his
those pills
family.
and
There's another job.
they were legal and the
Here's what
doctors gave them to you.
I taped the Frank Sinatra timing
Right.
special. And before the show, Frank introduced me to some boys he said were friends of his and said they were like family. After the show, the colonel said these boys wanted me to sing at Frank's casino, Kelneva Lodge, and go into Las Vegas. Sammy Davis insisted on taking me to dinner. No colonel, just me and him. Then he said Frank Sinatra's friend, Uncle Sam, was no uncle of anyone. That his real name was Sam Giancana. And Carl was Carlo Gambino. Chucky was Charles, Lucky Luciano. Then he said, do you get it? Stay away. Don't make pictures or anything. Otherwise, you'll end up property of the Italian mafia, just like Frank and me.
House Crime Committee heard testimony from an underworld crime figure who linked the name of entertainer Frank Sinatra with certain organized crime dealings.
Frank Sinatra fronts points for Raymond Patriarca and Jerry Angelo on the Pump Blue, and he fronted points for them in the Sands and Tower.
Anyway, after what Sammy Davis had said, I told the colonel I was going to make pictures. The colonel was a degenerate gambler. He gambled 12 hours at a time. In fact, the colonel was one of the top 5 high rollers.
And oh my goodness, Elvis,
He played
we have
roulette
so
for
many
dropping
stinking
chips on every number.
casinos here in Missouri.
So
It's
even when he won,
ridiculous.
he lost. And all the time, he was
They
writing
build
IOUs for
pads and
casinos.
put them out on the water,
The
and
colonel was becoming
they got
owner
all
of the
sorts of tricks
And that
in the
was dangerous.
Midwest,
That was back in '56. The
where
colonel
nobody's
had
got
me
the
sing
money to
New
be
Frontier
wasting
in
to
Las
do
Vegas.
that, right?
I played the lounge with Liberace for 2 weeks, and the colonel gambled the whole time. The colonel lost $500,000 at roulette, and they stuck a gun to my head.
Sure
The
they
colonel
did.
wrote an IOU, and we barely got out alive. Of course, I didn't get paid. Tom Parker was an egotistical, obnoxious old
But
party
you
hustler.
lived, God love you.
He treated me like a carnival show, making money off me to feed his gambling habit. But there's more to him. I wanted to tour Europe, especially to Germany, to repay the people for their hospitality. And there were offers, but the colonel always said no. So I figured he must have a secret far worse than being an illegal resident. Then I read about an unsolved murder in his hometown of Breda in Holland. A 23-year-old woman named Anna van den Eden was beat to death in her kitchen on May 17, 1929. That evening, Andreas Cornelius van Kook, that's the colonel, jumped onto a ship for America without saying goodbye to his family or taking any money, any clothes or ID. And that's why he spent his life denying his family and his home country. And
Great investigative, spiritual research work, right? So, I bet you're wondering at this point, what Elvis Presley, who's one of my most cherished sources of bliss throughout my life, right? What does him and the great Dr. Rudolf Steiner have in common? And so this should be a trivia question. And of course, I could tease people for months on end about what these two have in common. But you'd have to know a little bit about Steiner, I guess, to really get a big kick out of this. You'll just have to hear the story, I guess. So, Rudolf Steiner. Now, I've been reading that man's works for 12 years. I talk about him quite extensively on my Sophia's Emporium broadcasts. And today, I find out on the last day of February that his actual, for real, anniversary of the day that he took his first breath on planet Earth this time was February 25th. Now, I had always known his birthday to be February 27th, and that's what you'll read in the bios that are on any of the books that I have on Rudolf Steiner, first edition books in my library. So figure I have about 20 books. And I've always seen the date, February 27th. Well, this was actually his baptismal day. So, okay, now I see how I'm a soul sister to each of these two soul brothers, right? And the thing to keep in mind too about Elvis is his spiritual advisor and trusted confidant and friend was his hairdresser. So there's a lot of reasons why I feel connected, and I could go on and on. But right now, I want to bridge the subject of what these two men have in common. Now, people can say what they will about either one of them. Both of them were incredibly profound, deep, and intelligent, and they were also highly misunderstood. And since they were wildly famous within their own circles, you see, they really did love the people that they communed with and worked with, and it put it on much more of a personal relationship. And so when I think about my journey with my clients behind the chair and the way that we have developed our friendships and conversations over the years, I also too know firsthand the pain of what it is to speak as accurately as possible, and just because of someone's trauma or maybe someone's nature to not have faith, they believe these people aren't who they truly are. And most of the whitewashing in history that happens about people like us is directly taken back to that specific truth about the etymology of language. So most people would never even imagine that a man as manly as Elvis, could be spiritual and claim his Christhood and walk the path of Jesus, the man, evolving into his Christed state and transcending all of the incredible experiences that make up the human life, because we're really spiritual beings having a human experience. Okay, now, here's Elvis, okay? Theoretically died and then came back to life. And we know that the Bible, unfortunately, has been tampered with just through the whitewashing of history alone. And maybe we don't have 100% of the story in that book about the actual series of events you see. And so I've been having a lot of conversations with people about this, and also expanding on the idea that Jesus was a man, and he was a man that had a relationship with a woman, and that relationship bore fruit. I'm talking about children. And there's many different takes on it. Courtney Brown has one that I think is very profound. Might shatter a few people's reality, and if they feel like that, they should never go look at it, I guess. It'd be like a health warning, right? But back to Steiner. Okay, now you see, Steiner also was Christed. He was a man. He lived a human life. He was illumined. That doesn't mean he was part of the Illuminati, right? He was initiated into the mystery schools completely in every way. He spoke on a wide variety of subjects. And of course, in the end, he was actually the polar opposite of Hitler. And they were going on basically at the same time. And when I say that, I mean that when Rudolf Steiner was doing his lectures at the early part of the 20th century and carried on into, I believe 1925, you understand that Hitler would have been a contemporary, and he would have been coming to the public lectures, and Steiner also had private lectures, and I don't know who was in each group. I do know I was there on a very multidimensional level, and that's why we share a birthday, we share a mission. From the first time I ever read Steiner's work, I felt like it was there when it was written. And all of these things I've confessed to as I've shared Rudolf Steiner with the world. And you know, the cool thing is that so many of my great friends out here in this electronic media resonate with Steiner, and lo and behold, there's a plethora of people that know about him, and they're people that I admire and respect as mentors. So what a homecoming that's been too. That's my month of February in a nutshell. Now, when this month began, I believed I was going to speak out on an entirely different subject that was very, very difficult, which would have to do more with the nightmare of what people know as Pizzagate. These kids that are surrounded with the Hampstead name that is in the UK. A lot of things. And I was going to tell a story about someone very close to me that, although she's not involved at that level, it's like a big umbrella corporation. So let's put it this way. Even if you're just a beautiful woman that is paid to be escorted by a man to dinner, that you're promoting things like the organ harvesting or human trafficking, or even worse, the sex industry and pedophilia. And these are all realities that, like I said, I was going to talk about in the shortest month of the year. But instead, I was given grace. And Elvis came and grabbed me up and said, "Hey, come over here. I got a way better story for you." So I was totally cool with that. I got to play you guys this kid's. I got to play for at least a minute of this. This is this little boy. Small voice, big message. And it's his version of Metallica, Nothing Else Matter, covered by Asri. Check this little fireball out. That's the ad, of course. All right, check dude out. This kid deserves a real life. He shouldn't have to worry about somebody jerking out his kidneys or his liver or taking his bone marrow or his face. You know, they're even doing face transplants. I mean, how isn't it crazy? Sing it to us, baby.
And nothing else matters. Never opened myself this way. I think I will live it away. Oh, this world I don't see. And nothing else matters. Cause I see that I find in you every day for us something new. Open mind for a different view, and nothing else matters.
Now, here's where he really busts loose. So he does get a little squelchy there. He's only a baby, but I just had to play you a few minutes of that. And now we're going to leave my page called Soul Box. We've covered a very recent upload that SKMI put out. And this one covers the, the idea that he can't come back until our government, promises him that he is protected and no longer would he have a price on his head. And people need to get over the idea that he lied. He had to do what he had to do in order to live, just as we all do. So we die to our old lives and we're born into our new lives. And every one of us will experience this. I mean, I already have, and I know many of my friends already have. But for those who haven't, please have the heart virtues. All right, so here we are at the Big Yellow House. This is where Joe and I are caregivers. And I wanted to share this Ages of the Great Year. And what I said was confirmation of spirit, phenomenon, progress, and Steiner too. This is an excellent piece that I think fits right into our little conversation tonight about how all of us will make the decision to either understand what the spark of the divine and our Godhood consciousness means to us, and making the choice of whether we fall in that light and we arise into this ascended state, or we fall into this AI bullshit matrix, which is not what individuals and humans that are created in God's image should have to settle with, right? We were offended first. Let's go over this. Now has come the last age of the Kumian prophecy. The great cycle of periods is born anew. Now returns the maid, returns the reign of Saturn. Now from high heaven a new generation comes down. Yet do thou as that boy's birth, in whom the iron race shall begin to cease, and the golden to arise all over the world. Virgil, 37 BC. All earthquakes and disasters are warnings. There's too much corruption in the world. Aristotle. When the divine proportion began to fade away and became diluted too often and too much with the mortal admixture, and the human nature got the upper hand, then they, being unable to bear their fortune, behaved unseemingly, and to him who had an eye to see grew visibly debased. That's as much as I could get in, sorry. The final age was of iron. The floodgates opened and all the forces of evil invaded a breed of inferior metal. Loyalty, truth, and conscience went into exile. Their throne usurped by guile and deception, treacherous plots, brute force. There are those who have taken advantage of this lower age. They have stolen all knowledge from our ancestors all around the world, with torture and murder, and locked it away from us. They keep the mankind ignorant and weak, an illusion which they have created. They are who create wars and will destroy our civilization once their own end has come near, making much damage as possible. For our generation walks as in Hades, without the divine. Friedrich Holdenlin. When spirituality has reached its lowest ebb and religion has decayed, the wheel will turn again. Man will either rise up with an influx of spiritual regeneration or go down. The earthly body of man, his moral shell and spirit container, is molded before birth by following a soul pattern drawn by destiny. Once born, many forces influence the life of man on earth, but he is also given the responsibility of free choice. These lower ages exist to test the worth of our souls, that the wheat could be sorted from the tares. You have been given the free will to make your own decisions and to do what you want, but you are still accountable for your actions and for the path you have chosen. The higher path is never easy. The knowledge about our true nature already exists within each of us, and there are still pieces of information left scattered around the world waiting to be found again. Now is the time to stir awake these memories buried deep within our psyche and remember who we are. When the aether turns, it will illuminate the divine race. The real kings and queens are awakening from their deep slumber and will reclaim their kingdoms. Like a tide moves the element of aether in and out of our material plane, bringing with it the light and Christ consciousness which raises mankind out of his state of ignorance, but also returns him to an age of darkness when it recedes. The time has come for humanity to know certain truths concerning the spiritual background to the physical world. If people are not going to be prepared to accept these truths out of their own goodwill, they will be forced to learn them from the terrible events that will happen as time goes on. Rudolf Steiner, Fall of the Spirits of Darkness, Lecture 4, 6 October 1917. Nature's laws move slowly and imperceptibly, yet surely and exact, and the time will certainly come when man will be forced into consciousness of these laws, whether he will or no. Nature is no respecter of persons, and those who will not move and progress in harmony with her laws of advancement must, of necessity, pass out in the cold. Deep. And there's Courtney again. Isn't this confirmation of spirit? over and over and over. That's what I love about being in tune and knowing what the true purpose of the internet is. All right, so I'd like to share a post that my dear friend J.C. Pelosis Polygratis sent. And this is about the Rainbow Warriors. So let me read this to you. To my fellow millennials and to Secretary Gina Lopez, prophecies foretell of people who will rise from Earth's ashes like the thundering symbolizing rebirth. They will bring balance and harmony back to Mother Earth. Great leaders, spiritual leaders, and warriors of many nations will be born, and they will cleanse the earth for rebirth. I hope this video is enough proof that we should care for our environment. We are responsible for our actions. We are always a part of this planet, and Mother Earth is a part of us. Always remember that nature does not need us, but our very survival depends on it. And the good news is the great men and women of the older times, the devotees of God the Creator, the lovers of intelligences, the lovers of nature, the lovers of life are here. Are you one of them? Then act now. Humankind is now, warriors of the rainbow. When the earth is dying, there shall arise a new tribe of all colors and all creeds. This tribe shall be called the Warriors of the Rainbow, and it will put its faith in actions, not words. Prophecy of the Native American Hopi people. The Warriors of the Rainbow would spread these messages and teach all peoples of the earth, or Elohai. They would teach them how to live the way of the Great Spirit. The tasks of these warriors of the rainbow are many and great. We are part of the earth, and it is part of us. Chief Seattle. There will be terrifying mountains of ignorance to conquer, and they shall find prejudice and hatred. They must be dedicated. They will find willing hearts and minds that will follow them on the road of returning Mother Earth to beauty and plenty once more. When we show our respect for other living things, they respond with respect for us. Arapo proverb. Pardon me. A new universe is now flying through the cosmos, about to enter the Earth's heavens. Prophecies foretell of a people who will rise from Earth's ashes like the thunderbird, symbolizing rebirth. They will be pathfinders, leading the way to a new universe, a new reality. Great leaders, spiritual leaders, and warriors of many nations will be born, and they will cleanse the earth for rebirth. Together, they will be called Rainbow Warriors, for they will gather the four sacred directions. They will be called Rainbow Warriors, for they will gather the four sacred directions. All distinctly separate, but forever connected in the circle of life. They will bring together the four races of man to live in peace. The four sacred directions and the four races of man are symbolized by the magnificence and glory of the rainbow. The sacred circle of life turns slowly but inevitably back to the place where it began. As each age passes, it cannot be reclaimed. Now is the time we begin to prepare ourselves to become inheritors of Mother Earth. To become warriors of the rainbow, for the sake of our children's children and all of humanity. The road of the future is not red. It is a rainbow leading to the Creator's grace by way of prayer, good works, and faith. To be chosen to walk the path to light is not a decision made by some religious leader, a government agency, Our very survival depends on this. It is a personal choice made by a mind and heart, made free of the idols of modern materialism. It is a decision made between you and the Creator. One with nature and all creation. The world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. Albert Einstein. Save Mother Earth. Turn on the light. Let me not pray to be sheltered from dangers, but to be fearless in facing them. The Rainbow Warriors. Freely adapted from Cree Prophecy, Hopi Prophecy, excerpts from Standing Bear Speaks, pictures, digit art, fantasy, music, Gravity of Love, created by Humanity Healing Project, organized and executed with love by MySpace, Random Acts of Kindness. Ooh, that was a lot to read. Hey, Courtney, I promise. ASAP, baby. All right. So, is there anything else to cover before I blow out of Dodge? You should know, of course, that Elvis worked for Nixon, secret agent. And hey, here again, here's how you get to the channel you want to be at. It's all capital letters, and there's a space between the second and the third letter. So it's SKMI. That would be the channel you want to go to. Oh, wait a second. You say, hey, Suze, why don't you show me where it is? And I say, no problem. So we hop over to YouTube, and you see, you can come right to my channel, Suze Pratt on YouTube. And if you go to the playlists, you'll find Elvis Neverending Story. And of course, they are being filed in. You will find the most recent editions playing first in that list. But consider this. This journey has been less than 1 month. So none of them are old. And Elvis has been uploading his witness and testimony now in English for 10 months. So you can click on this list you see, and poof, here you'll be at all the videos. That easy, right? Okay. And this is Elvis current day, singing gospel in a little church somewhere in Arkansas. But now, aka Bob Joyce, has retired as a full-time preacher man. And you know, everybody has aliases. I mean, most people don't realize it, but Elvis realizes, and he has a few of them. So it's all good. Let's just go back real quick. Here again, we're at my channel, right? So if you look at where the subscriptions are, the first one would be said channel. And this is an incredible piece. This would be the best thing I think that you could possibly watch as a newcomer, checking this out and saying, I can't believe it. And so most of us remember Geraldo Rivera. And I mean, I used to love 2020. Talk about great journalism back in the day before the corporations squished it, right? But anyhow, he goes and does this whole mega interview. I mean, like the doctor that gave him the hundreds of pills, the coroner, the people involved at the hospitals, so on and so forth. And you know, interestingly enough, in the end, you come to find out that the Elvis Presley case and the facts that surround it made up the number one biggest misuse of pharmaceuticals that has ever been, even to this day. So here again, if anybody wants to play judge and throw a rock, just remember that these people were innocent, no different than the people today. Let's say the parent that has to give their child that medication because the doctor tells them to. No different, friends. And I know that's hard to hear, but your buddy Suze will always bring you the gospel truth as far as my experience and the way that I know things to be. And remember, I'm the girl that came bolting onto Facebook and on September 1st, 2014, witnessed to the world how this internet actually works. And so, like I've told people, there are no secrets. This is an artificial intelligence that in the end, you can find out and be terrified that they got this police, this secret police, and they know everything you're doing, and so on and so forth. But like I've said, that's no different to a good Catholic than the confessional booth. So why is it such a far stretch to avoid the probability, potentiality, reality, and truth that is, of course, a divine creator, is omnipresent and omnipotent and omniscientific as this God of love that I have? Promise you, he can whoop the bad guys' butts and use the internet for its highest purpose. So, with that, I just want to say peace, love, and light from the Big Yellow House on the third cosmic ray, coming to you live on the last day of February in the year 2017. Take care. Talk to you in March. Peace out.